Welcome everyone to this CELPIP Listening Part 6 Viewpoints Analysis. Now I'm just here in the Listening Part 6 section of the CELPIP library. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that Listening Part 6 focuses more on CLB 7 or higher. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you need to get CLB 7, 8, or 9 or higher, then you need to do well in this part. You need to score the most points in this part. And that's because only by doing well in this part can you get a higher score, okay? And also, it means that this part is more difficult. And it is a long lecture for about 3 minutes. And so the language you will hear will be more difficult and the questions will be more difficult. And so this part should be for students that are higher levels and they have more experience in English. So if you need to get CLB 4, 5, or 6, this part could be more difficult for you. And so also, it's not so important to do well in this part for CLB 4, 5, or 6. You need to focus more on parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those parts will be easier for lower levels, and you can get more points than in part 6, okay? So then, higher levels, you need to try to practice this level more so you can get higher grades, okay? Now, also, I want to remind you about this Listening Part 6 Viewpoints, Tips, and Strategies video. This video will give you more tips and strategies on how you can listen effectively, how you can answer the questions, what you should listen for, and what you should be doing while you listen. And it'll be some of the tips and strategies that I will be using in this lesson sample, okay? So if you want to watch that video, then I'm going to be leaving a link in the description box to that video, okay? So then, let's get to today's lesson, climate change. Okay, so here we are in the front page of this lesson sample, and I want to let you know that this lesson sample has 6 sections, okay? The first one is this video analysis that you are watching, okay? The second is vocabulary building. Now, vocabulary building is a great exercise to improve your vocabulary. For part 6, we're going to be listening to some words that are higher level, language that is higher level. So this vocabulary building exercise will help you improve in that. We have some words, their basic meanings, some synonyms, some antonyms. And then we have this great exercise where you need to complete the sentence using one of those words. We need to manufacture more products to reduce pollution. Well, I think we need to biodegradable products. Yes, biodegradable, right? We need to manufacture more biodegradable products to reduce pollution. I think that's what it is. So then you see, you do them all, you go forward, and then you submit. And look, I got it correct. I got 1, but I need to get 60%. So then, everyone, afterwards, you can check your answer. You see my answer is correct over here. Review your answer. It's a really great vocabulary building exercise, okay? And then we have over here comprehension building. Comprehension building is a really good way for you to practice your listening and understanding and comprehending. You listen to this sentence.
Fracking is controversial because of the environmental hazards.
I heard fracking is controversial because of the environmental hazards. So then I need to read the sentences. Fracking is controversial because of the risk of harm to the environment. Due to the environmental hazards, fracking is controversial. So is A, B, neither A or B, or both A and B? Which one is similar to the sentence we heard? What a really good exercise. This exercise will really help you improve your listening comprehension, okay? All right, and then we have some following dialogue. Now, following dialogue lets you listen to the conversation. It's going to be the conversation that we're going to practice. And while you listen, you put in a word. What word did you hear? Okay, let's see here.
Listening to viewpoints.
Fracking, technically referred to as hydraulic fracturing.
Technically referred. Technically referred. Yeah. So that's the word that I heard. Then we follow along and we complete everything. And then we check. I got it correct, but I need 70% or hopefully 100%. So really great exercise for you to build your following dialogue skills. Okay, very great, everyone. And then we have the test practice 1, which we're going to do right now. We're going to analyze that. And then we have test practice 2, which is version 2 of this listening. And that will be for you to practice the listening yourself. Very great exercise to review. All right, very good, everyone. So now let's get started with today's analysis. Okay, so then, everyone, now here we are, and I'll tell you that it's the same format as the real exam. First, you get the listening, okay? And then after that, you have your questions. You have your 6 questions, okay? And you'll have 4 minutes to complete the 6 questions, okay? And it's also multiple choice, of course, okay? So we have the same format. So then, everyone, I do want to, before we start, I do want to give you just a few tips that you should remember for part 6. The first one, very important, is for you to understand what is the main topic about. This is very important. We need to gather from the beginning what is the topic and why is it controversial or why is it an issue. Okay, very important. And then the second thing is we need to listen for different viewpoints about the issue or the topic. You'll get 2 or 3 different views, or you'll get different views or opinions about that topic. And we definitely need to understand those different views, okay? Because the questions, they will be about the different views, okay? So it's very important to understand the topic and the different views about the topic. How are they the same, those views? Usually some agree, some disagree. Some are for, some are against. Some pros, some cons. We need to listen for those, okay? And then the last point that I should make sure that you should know for this part is that we should try and keep some notes, okay? Or I strongly suggest notes because it's a lot of information and you should try to just keep track of the different viewpoints. Maybe one, you can write agree, and make sure, everyone, that we write few notes. We don't want to write full sentences. We want to keep on listening. One good way to keep on listening for myself is just to repeat information. Just repeat in your mind. It's very, very effective for recalling information. If you repeat, you can recall. But as well, I find that notes and repeating work even more effectively. Okay? So keep those tips in mind. Okay, and also about the questions. About the questions, everyone, we need to understand clearly the question and what it's trying to, what part is testing. Okay, usually the questions will follow in order to the listening part. So they will be the first part, the second part, the third part, and so on. Okay, so it's very important to try to remember something about each part of the listening. Okay, and now for the answers, very important for the answers. Students make the most mistakes by choosing words instead of ideas. Remember that this is not a word test, it's a listening test. So they are testing ideas or recalling ideas, not words. Now, it's true that some words may be in the answers, but most of the time we hear all the words. So sometimes students, just because we hear resources, we choose resources. We hear transportation, so we choose transportation. Chemicals, so we choose chemicals. Footprint, we choose that. So we should not be choosing answers because of words. Okay, very important. We should try to associate words. This means not just resources, but how about consumes more resources? Connect consumes with resources. Connect the two, and that will help you choose the answer better. Okay, not just because of words. Very important. All right. And also about time, we have 4 minutes for 6 questions. So that is about 40 seconds per question. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. Some question answers are longer than other ones, but I would definitely try to do it in order because you listen to the lecture and then you answer the questions in order according to the lecture. So if you're doing some question number 5 and then you go back to number 1, you might have already forgotten that information. So try to answer the questions in order and give yourself about 40 seconds per question. Okay? And you will be able to watch the time. So in here, I've taken the time out, but in the real exam, you will have a time cue there. Okay? Very good. So now let's get started. So then, everyone, we're going to be doing test practice 1. Now, let me just remind you that we are going to be doing it together. I'm going to be giving you a chance to do the listening and answer the questions, and then we will analyze them together. Okay, but first, let's get started with listening to the lecture.
Listening to viewpoints. The majority of scientists around the world agree that humans are largely to blame for the warming of our planet. Over the past 50 years, temperatures on Earth have increased at a higher rate than ever recorded. In order to prevent excess greenhouse gases from trapping heat in our atmosphere, we need to change our lifestyles. By reducing our carbon footprint and switching to clean forms of energy, there is a chance we will be able to extend our stay on our planet. Despite freakish weather like heat waves, droughts, and hurricanes, tackling climate change has not been a priority for some world leaders. As a presidential candidate, Donald Trump said he was not a big believer in man-made climate change. Some of his supporters, including a handful of scientists, were even accused of taking part in a climate cover-up. Those who benefit financially from oil, gas, and coal industries often deny the need for clean energy alternatives. By casting doubt on science, A few skeptics have caused a large number of people to question whether man-made climate change even exists. Ignoring a time-sensitive topic like the environment creates a vicious cycle. If the public doesn't rate the environment as a major concern, world leaders won't either. Environmentalists always said that the first place humans would see undeniable evidence of global warming would be in the Arctic. In 2012, the summer sea ice in the Arctic was at a record low. Ice experts have warned that sea ice in the Arctic will likely be non-existent within a few years. Instead of being concerned by these dangerous signs of global warming, some business thinkers are already considering potential opportunities. After all, open waters will lead to new shipping channels. We'll need stronger sunscreen products too. Climate change affects the whole planet, yet the world's leaders can't agree on what to do about it. Many leaders from have-not countries think they should be off the hook. They don't believe their people contributed to the problem, and they want healthy nations to fix it. Developed nations aren't always as wealthy as they look. They're in debt, at war, and addicted to consumption. On May 24th, 2019, hundreds of thousands of students walked out of schools around the world in a global climate strike, protesting inaction by their governments. Will today's youth spark a climate revolution?
So let's get to the questions. We have 4 minutes, that's about 40 seconds per question. I will be timing you here. So let's get started. Question 1. Okay, now question 2. Okay, now question 3. Okay, now question 4. Okay, now question 5. Okay, now question 6. Okay, then. So, everyone, let's have a look at the answers, okay? So, the impact of human civilization. So, something very interesting about this climate change, of course, huge issue. So, what is the impact of human civilization probably on the climate? Is academically viewed to be environmentally destructive. So, people think it's environmentally destructive. Is being considered a potential harm to the environment. Is not agreed upon in terms of environmental impact. Is currently being studied as it relates to the environment. Well, I wouldn't say as well. Let's just read it to see exactly what it could be. I have the script over here. The majority of scientists around the world agree that humans are largely to blame for the warming of our planet. Over the past 50 years, temperatures on Earth have increased at a higher rate than ever recorded. In order to prevent excess greenhouse gases from trapping heat in our atmosphere, we need to change our lifestyles. By reducing our carbon footprint and switching to clean forms of energy, there's a chance we will be able to extend our stay on our planet. Wow, huge. So it says here that scientists agree. So, okay. So I wouldn't say it's not is not agreed upon. Scientists agree. Not is currently being studied, has been studied. Harm. I think it would be not being considered. Scientists agree. Academically viewed means scientists that it is environmentally destructive. That human civilization will have caused damage to the environment. Okay. The positive contributions, the positive that we can make as individuals. So, what can we do as individuals? Okay. Is to resist climate initiatives, is to prevent our lifestyles, is to adhere to climate policies, is to suppress climate ideologies. So I don't think it would be suppress, means not accept. Also, it's not prevent our lifestyles, not do it. So resist climate change, so not agree with them, or adhere, try to follow. So it would be adhere to climate policies. As what we read or what we heard, we need to try to follow climate policies. Okay. 3, the presence of climate change is indicated. So, how can we see clearly climate change? The voices of activist groups, the highly volatile weather patterns, the citizens of countries greatly affected, the research of the scientific community. Well, let's read a little bit what we heard here. Despite freakish weather like heat waves, droughts, and hurricanes, tackling climate change has not been a priority for some world leaders. As a presidential candidate, okay, Mr. Trump said he was not a big believer in man made. So he doesn't believe in climate change. Okay. Some of his supporters, including a handful of scientists, were even accused of taking part in a climate cover up, so trying to hide those who benefit financially from oil, gas, and coal industries often deny that we need clean energy alternatives. By casting doubt on science, a few skeptics have caused a large number of people to question whether man made climate change even exists. Really? Ignoring a time sensitive topic like the environment creates a vicious cycle. If the public doesn't rate the environment as a major concern, world leaders will not either. Okay, all right. So, according to what we read, didn't read yet about activist groups, but I don't think so. I don't think it would be about activist groups. Okay. Or not by the research. I would say they spoke about the highly changing, it means the weather patterns. We can see climate change is happening a lot from the major changes. Volatile means changing a lot. Weather patterns, okay? We didn't really hear about the activist groups yet, but let's keep this one for now and check after. Number 4, industries that benefit from creating pollution are very concerned about climate change, take special interest in environmental study, are sometimes known to influence studies, are known to manipulate research results. We did read that they are not very concerned and that they don't take special interest. We read over here, let's look at that again. Casting doubt on some. Okay. Those who benefit financially from oil and gas often deny the need for clean energies by casting doubt on science. They question whether man made climate change even exists. No. So they are known to influence the studies. They cast doubt, it said. Cast doubt means they are not, they try to say it's not true. All right. So C. The levels of ice in the Arctic are not frequently measured, are extremely depleted, are highly volatile, are constantly scrutinized. So let's check what it said here. Environmentalists always said that the first place humans would see undeniable evidence of global warming would be in the Arctic. In 2012, the summer sea ice in the Arctic was at a record low. Ice experts have warned that sea ice in the Arctic would likely be non existent within a few years. Instead of being concerned by these dangerous signs of global warming, some business thinkers are already considering potential opportunities. After all, open waters will lead to new shipping channels. We'll need stronger sunscreen products too. So, not frequently measured, not are constantly being checked. Well, they're saying here that they are depleted, getting less and less. That's what was mentioned, okay? And not changing, increasing and decreasing. So B. And 6, the leaders of the world. Okay, the leaders of the world are discordant on a solution, are currently implementing a solution, tend to side with one equitable plan of action, are unwilling to provide a solution. Okay, let's see what we have. Climate change affects the whole planet, yet the world's leaders can't agree on what to do about it. Many leaders from have-not countries think they should be off the hook. They don't believe their people contributed to the problem, and they want wealthy nations to fix it. Developed nations aren't always as wealthy as they look. They are in debt, at war, and addicted to consumption. On May 24, 2019, hundreds of thousands of students walked out of schools around the world in global climate strike protesting inaction by their governments. Okay, so there's about the protesters. Will today's youth spark a climate revolution? So then, it looks like not they are unwilling, some are unwilling. Not about an equitable or fair, and they're not implementing a solution. So discordant means they don't agree on what is the solution. Okay? So how did we do? Did we get 6 from 6? Okay. Well, if you didn't get 6 from 6, then everyone, what can we do? Well, the first thing that we can do is read and understand the answers. That's right. Let's understand why the answer is the answer. Why is it the answer? Okay? And why are the other answers not the answers? This is very good for improving comprehension skills, understanding why the answer is the answer and why the answers are not the other answers. That's very great for improving everyone. Okay. So the second thing that we can do is let's read the script. Okay, everyone. Let's read the script and let's understand the script. It's very important. Okay. Very important to understand the script and how ideas are expressed. This is the kind of expression we need for part 6. We need to understand what the different opinions are while we read. Why do people agree or disagree? What were the different views here between those that believe in climate change and those that don't? Very important. And vocabulary as well. Vocabulary, ideas. Reading the script will really help you improve to this level. Okay? And so, also for that reason, everyone, I will be leaving a link in the description box to this lesson sample. Okay? And also, let's not forget about test practice 2. Test practice 2, same listening. We listen to it again. It's timed. And then we have, everyone, version 2, different questions. Will you get 6 from 6 this time? Very, very good practice. Okay? And lastly, everyone, let's not forget about our CELPIP library. CELPIP library for understanding viewpoints. Well, it has over 60 examples of listening part 6. 60 examples, everyone. If you need to get CLB plus or higher, then I strongly recommend that you subscribe to the CELPIP library and practice. Okay, very good tool for improving your listening. And now with discount code CELPIP79, again, discount code CELPIP79, you can get a 3-month subscription of CELPIP library for only $10.99 Canadian. Wow, that's a really good deal, everyone. And there'll be a link in the description box to the sample lesson and also to CELPIP library. So everyone, don't forget, Practice makes perfect.